Not from the Bent Pixel Studios, but still in Las Vegas, Nevada. This is Phone Booth Fighting, a weekly podcast with myself, Richard Hunter, and that guy,
Frank Mir.
He's a two-time UFC heavyweight champion, current Bellator fighter, and dedicated father of three. A guy who is on the cusp of a very big milestone, Frank. I don't know if you remembered or not, but it's about to be your 40th birthday.
Yeah, man.
You excited?
A little bit. I just hope my wife didn't do the typical, went too far out of her own way, and she's not going to be able to enjoy the day with me at all just because she's those movies where you see the mom who has to have everything planned perfectly.
Yeah.
And she's running from one end to the next, and it's like, okay, by the time she sits down, it's like, the party's over now.
That's right. She's your wife is putting on a big party, and I know I've talked to her. She was running around she was scheduled the clown and the balloon animal guy and all that, but she was double checking to make sure they had the right address.
The strippers coming, right?
Yeah. Did you ever see? That's funny you brought that. Have you ever seen the movie Parenthood?
Yeah.
Okay. Remember when Steve Martin has to dress up as Cowboy Dan? Because they hired Cowboy Dan to come to his kid's birthday party, but the stripper showed up instead. Did I ever tell you my similar experience with that? No.
One time for Bella's birthday, it was probably, I think she was like 6 years old. I asked Mrs. Mir about it. She remembers when. Bella's a little girl, 4 to 6 at that age, And she liked at that time, I think she liked The Little Mermaid was the princess she was into. So Jennifer looked up online and found a site that, that orders people out. But this company doesn't necessarily have employees. They're more like a broker type thing or like an agent. So basically, people call them looking for talents to come to their house to do parties, clowns, impersonators, whatever, magicians. And this company privately connects with people that didn't put their application to them going, hey, I'm available to do magic tricks. Okay, cool. And I'm sure they have somewhat of a vetting service, but somehow this girl slipped through the cracks because this Ariel showed up at our house, and it was one of those things where like no one said a word when the door first opened up. It was like, the first I told the wife, I'm like, I think we need to check the internet for this is definitely someone's sex slave.
What do you mean? Like she was like a sexy Ariel?
No, not at all. The girl looked like someone had kidnapped her. She was like 16 years old. Didn't look, I think she was 18, but she looked like she was 16.
Yeah,
malnourished. Just, like some girl I would be expecting to, to be hanging out outside on the sidewalk at a Walmart at 2 a.m. And then the guy who brought her did not, looked like he was old enough to be her father, but then like the way they were interacting, it was obviously not her father. And it was just fucking weird. Like the girls, her makeup, her outfit, was like they went to the corner store at the Walmart costume section and just picked up an Ariel costume. And then the girl just had no clue what the fuck she was doing. As far as, it really was kind of like, somehow, which probably better than being thrown into prostitution, but I think it was one of those things like, I need you to make some money and maybe we can do this and just, let's, fake it till you make it type situation.
Oh, no.
It was just, I can make jokes and certain shit's funny, especially when you see somebody who's like pompous fall on their face. But when I see truly people down on their luck, there's a part of me, maybe because that's why I'm not a bully at all. So when I see somebody, it's like, the dog that walks down the street that's limping, I can't laugh at that. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, that's somebody's fucking kid at one point. That's a miserable situation. So it was just really awkward. And so like it lasted for about 30 minutes. And then Jen told me like, hey, this is wrong. So I was like, hey, we're good, man. So, we sent them on their way. And then she called up the company and explained like, well, first time we ever worked with them, we're like, have you seen them in your office? You know what I mean? Like you might want to call this people in because, it doesn't, it was somebody ordering this person to their house. It was definitely, it would have probably been much funnier and not as sad had we fucked up and hired a stripper. You know what I mean? Like, oh shit, wrong party. You know what I mean? But the fact that it was like like I said, it was like, probably you've seen those girls come to the brothel where you're just like their soul is gone.
Sure.
I'm looking at you like, what the fuck have you been through? You're not even old enough to vote yet.
We don't hire them out for kids' parties. Ever. Now, how did it go over? So Bella was like 5 or 6.
She didn't
like
know.
that?
I didn't think she was even younger. She had to be like closer to 4. Because I mean, she had no clue. She just saw a girl wearing a really bad $5 red fucking wig and a just long blue skirt that was representing, I guess, a
fin, like the bottom half of the mermaid. Okay.
I couldn't figure out if like, okay, are you Ariel when she has legs, or are we really trying to do the Ariel that, you know, like, is that the dorsal? Is that the fins? I mean, like it was.
Yeah, I don't. That
and
is
like no makeup on the girl. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? And like, you know, not somebody who's like, oh, well, you take such good care of your skin, you don't have to wear makeup. You're like, nah, you should have put some makeup on.
Ariel au natural. Yeah, I haven't seen Little Mermaid, but that's Jennifer's favorite Disney character. So she's tried to explain.
You haven't seen it, and it's your woman's favorite character?
No, I haven't seen most Disney movies.
Really, you haven't?
Here's the thing. I never, as a kid.
Yeah, you got no nephews and nieces and shit.
And the other thing, just as a kid, I didn't like kid stuff. Like I was never there. I didn't watch kids movies. I didn't like.
See, I still watch kids cartoons.
Yeah. Some of it I've kind of caught up on. Now I like adult animation.
Yeah, but I mean, I actually watch cartoons that are
okay.
You know, like SpongeBob.
Yeah,
is, I mean, if anybody wants to say it's not an adult cartoon. I mean, there might slip an adult joke that only an adult would get in there every now and then.
Yeah.
But I mean, come on. I mean, that's, you know, it's centered towards young people.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't ever see any of that stuff. I don't even know when Little Mermaid came out. I don't even know if I probably wasn't even a kid anymore, but I've never seen it. So she's caught me up on, well, you've done that. We've been on the Disney rides and you'll explain to me what you did it when we rode Monsters Inc. together. I remember you were explaining to me what the concept was, that some monster or a kid had gotten in all the monsters were supposed to scare kids and everything.
Right. Well, I told you, because if you look at the architecture, most of the architecture is from the 40s and 50s, because that's when they first had a boom in children.
Yes.
So the baby boomers.
Yes.
So like when I was just, because I didn't figure this out on my own.
Yeah.
This is me just being such a fan of Disney, watching YouTube videos.
Yeah. And
someone breaking down the details of when they made this cartoon, they realized, okay, you know, when would be the surplus for this economy? Well, shit, you know, when was the biggest boom in kids? Well, during the baby boom era.
Yeah.
So most of the things have been built during that era.
My introduction to all that has actually been Disneyland, because I love Disneyland so much now. I like all the rides and the attractions, but a lot of it I don't know the stories of. So yeah, so she's explained it to me, or you have, or whatever. So yeah, it's like I'm having the childhood I never had. Yeah. Now I started to explain this at the very beginning of the show. If you're watching on our Phone Booth Fighting YouTube channel, you're like, where the hell are you guys? Did you get kicked out of the Bent Pixel studios? No. The studio was not available for a few days this week. So a lot of times we'll go over to stately Mir Manor and broadcast. But today we're emanating from the Chateau Hunter. So this is my
Easter egg in there, because I remember the couch.
That's right. This is the couch that we had in the stately Mir Manor home studio before we moved over to Bent Pixel, but we're actually just kind of here in my home office with the makeshift mobile setup. There are a couple of interesting attractions on camera here, though. If you're, again, watching us on YouTube, this poster behind me, Frank, is interesting. This is a poster autographed by all 4 members of Metallica in the year, and you see the year right here, 1986. Lars Ulrich, when he signed it, put 86 on there. This was signed for a 15-year-old me. I got this when I was 15 years old, and the really curious thing about it, up there in the far top left corner, it is signed by Cliff Burton. And Cliff Burton was the original bass player in Metallica, and he played on their first 3 records. And then about 2 months after this was signed in 1986, they were touring in Sweden, and the bus had a wreck, and the Cliff, the bass player, fell out. This is in the middle of the night. He fell out of the window of one of the buses that was by his bunk, and he falls out onto the road. The bus.
Did he lose his arm?
No, he died. The bus fell on top of him and squashed him.
Isn't there some famous drummer
drummer in Def Leppard?
Def Leppard.
Now that guy was driving drunk. Yep, and he lost his arm.
That's a shitty way to go. To be fucking just really minding your own business. You're sleeping. Not fucking off, not being an asshole.
Freak accident. I mean, not only to fall out of it, which would be, I mean, it's not like the window was open. You know, first of all, you got to fall out. That's freak enough. And then just to have the thing turn over and land on you. Yep.
Yeah.
That's what happened to him.
Yeah, crushing's not, that's a shitty way to go.
Yep.
Squash like a bug.
So anyway, so I got that when I was 15 years old. I got it because I saw Metallica open for Ozzy Osbourne. That's like how far back in Metallica's career that was. They were somebody's opening act. They were opening for Ozzy Osbourne, and they signed that poster for me. And then also here in camera shot is that bass that's right over your head there is a 67 Fender Telecaster. That was the first like legitimate instrument I ever owned. Like I had some kind of cheapo, basses to start out on, but that was the first ever like real collectible musical instrument I ever had. So that's a 1967 Fender Telecaster, and then this is a reissue of a Les Paul Jr. right here. These two are both reissues. This Les Paul Jr. and then this bass right over here is called a Gibson Thunderbird. And they came out a few years back. They're kind of like reissues from the instruments from the 50s and the 60s. So there you go.
Hang different shit up in their houses.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you've got a guitar hanging in your house. The difference is it has your face on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I'm not that.
I have no clue how to use it.
I'm not that narcissistic. I don't have anything. Yeah. No, a fan gave that to you, right?
Yeah.
That's a very cool thing.
Yeah, it was. I get a lot of cool shit hanging up in my house, and people are like, "Where'd you get that?" I'm all, "Someone sent it to me, dude."
Yeah.
I'm like, really? I'm like, "Yeah, it's fucking crazy, right?"
Whoever did that did an awesome job with it. That's a very cool thing to have. I was talking to somebody about that because I was saying, like, you think about like all the different ways kids pick up instruments or start playing. So my uncle had a guitar around the house or whatever. Yours would be such a weird situation because somebody would be like, "Oh, how'd you start to play guitar?" Well, there was this guitar at our house with my dad's face on it that no one knew how to play, and I started playing.
You got to still show Cage one time.
Yes.
You brought over the amp.
That's right. He's got the amp, and I showed him a few things on the guitar, but we do need to sit down and have a proper guitar lesson. And I got to figure out if he or Ronan might be more. Who do you think would be more musically inclined at this point? Who do you think's more interested in music?
You know what? It might be Ronan. Ronan's a lot more artistic than Cage and Bella both. Bella and Cage are both pure jocks.
Yeah, they're real athletic. Yeah, Ronan is a very talented artist.
Yeah, and so like even his schoolwork. Mm-hmm. When Cage or Bella have to do something that's on the artistic side, they just follow it by the numbers to get whatever has to be done. Okay, this is what I'm required to do. If you say draw a picture, they're not going to color it because you didn't say they had to color it.
Yeah.
You just said I had to draw a picture. Whereas Ronan, there's some pieces of his artwork that he'll bring home and I'll look at it and be like, "Holy shit, dude! Like you did this?" Like,
yeah, you showed me one of his paintings, and that's what the thought I had too. It's way beyond like, "Oh yeah, that's good." It's like that's kind of eerily good for somebody that
like a couple times. Like I feel bad because I was that parent. I'm like, "Jen, did you help him with this?" She's like, "No." I'm all, "Do you think the teacher like stenciled this out?" Or she goes, "No, I went in the classroom." She says she gave him a fucking a picture and just to look off of that. I'm just like, he did that. She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, I don't want to be that asshole to doubt your own kid, but it was so above and beyond that it actually blew my mind a little bit. I was like, wow. And so he's done it to me enough times now that I'm like, he's definitely much more artistically, but Jennifer's side of the family, the Rivera side, way more artistic, like Uncle Eddie and them. I mean, you see how like the knives I fight,
he
engraves them and like artwork. And like, if we ever get a chance to go out to his property, he's an engineer over at Boeing, but he's very artistic on his personal time. Like he knows how to, like
he's not responsible for that Max 8 problem.
No, that wasn't him.
It wasn't him. Okay, good.
Like he put a door on his cabin, so he made the door. Even like a tree that had fallen, and he shaved off a piece of it, or and had it milled down, and carves it, engraves it, and put a tree in there, and it's supposed to represent, so like and then like his son Max, Jennifer's cousin, he's really good at like paintbrush and stuff, so he like can draw things. In fact, I think he just started making some money off of it, like putting up artwork or doing something with a bar. Jennifer was telling me, and I can't remember the details. I'll have to ask you again so I can be more specific. But to where, he actually gets paid for his artwork. for some of the things he's able to build and put together. So her side of the family is way more artistic. I mean, you see Marcus even, he does all the laminations and stuff for the stone, the millwork.
Yeah.
Bella, Cage, and I have zero artistic ability. Like, I can't fucking draw a circle.
I got a funny Marcus story for you. So, was about a week ago, we're over at the Rio here in Las Vegas because, you're calling fights, right?
Last Thursday, right?
Yeah. Incredible. By the way, is that something, I mean, we talk about it on the podcast, is that something people can see? They don't have to be here in Vegas. Where are they streaming that or televising
I think that? It was on, from what I understood, it was on CBS Tuesday at 11 o'clock or 11:30.
Okay. The fight promotion is called?
It's Final Fight Championship.
Yep. FFC.
The owner, Croatian guy who was actually the manager of Mirko Cro Cop, but he's really a production side, guy. So you've seen the facility.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, and that's why I try to. When people come in, they look at it. It's small, but the stage, or the arena, and all the cameras and the teleprompters, everything is second to nothing. It's and the guy explained it to me. He goes, look, he goes, if the UFC or Bellator have an event, if they go somewhere and they don't have it, they have to be able to bring it themselves. The show has to be mobile.
Yeah.
So when you're putting together devices or equipment, it has to be with that consideration that, well, it might be here on Saturday, but we got to have this shit on a truck on Sunday, and we're shipping it off somewhere else. We're like, well, here, he goes, the show never moves.
Yeah.
So when I bolted that TV over to that wall, I bolted it there with the intention that it never moves. So the quality of what you can put together is just at a much higher level, having that kind of studio. And so, and then having Princey put the fights together, it was the whole thing really came together well.
Yeah.
Do we able? You haven't watched it, right? Because I want to hear how John Morgan and I,
Yeah. Frank was doing color. John Morgan doing play-by-play, and from MMA Junkie, and it looked this thing up, Final Fight Championship, because it's like I said, it's at the Rio Hotel and Casino here in Las Vegas, and the venue itself, I mean, maybe holds 300-400 people, something like that. But to watch it, you wouldn't know if that was in front of 400 people or 10,000. Yeah. Like the production of it was that good, and the fights were really good too. And anyway, I bring this up because we're sitting there on the front row, myself and the whole Mir family, and we're right behind where you and John are doing the play-by-play. And there was just a brutal knockout that night. There was a guy who just got knocked out cold right in front of you guys.
Yeah.
The fights are in a ring, not a cage, and the guy just kind of like fell through the like his head was kind of hanging out of the
his girlfriend or his wife.
That's where I'm going.
Yeah, I saw that. And then I see black hair behind me.
Yeah.
And I look over. I'm like, well, if anybody's been around this long enough and can console somebody who's been on the bad side of a loss,
it's your wife.
It's my wife.
And it was she leapt into action, because what happened was this woman, young girl, that's
25 years old.
Yeah, the wife of this fighter, who's holding an infant, by the way. I mean, this baby
6 months.
6 months old. She's holding the baby in one arm, and she's filming with the cell phone on the other. And, everything's going fine, of course, until the guy gets knocked unconscious.
And he was looking good. The guy had good skills.
Oh, yeah, no, very competitive
He was a good
fight.
kickboxer.
Yeah, very competitive fight. Just got caught. So he gets knocked unconscious. She immediately, is shaking, bursts into tears. She's holding the baby and everything. So Jennifer sees her, jumps up, runs over to her, goes, "It's okay, it's all right." That's when Jennifer realizes this woman does not speak English.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like at every turn, what keeps getting worse, right? What could be worse than holding the 6-month-old baby? Well, how about she doesn't speak English? She's in a foreign country. Yeah. So Jennifer's consoling her. I see her like she's pointing over to the monitor once he kind of opened his eyes, going, "Look, see, he's awake, he's awake." So she was taking care of her. So here's my funny Marcus story. So he tried to, like, he saw what was going on initially, and he was kind of like, "It's okay, he's going to be okay," And so when Jennifer ran over to attend to her, I leaned over to Marcus and I said, "All right, how much do I have to pay you right now for you to just go over there and just whisper, 'Hey, listen, in case this doesn't work out, here's my number.'" I got kids. I'm good with kids, blended family. Won't miss a beat.
The ultimate Captain Save-A-Ho move. Remember the fight? This happened in Pride. And I think it was it Danny Goodridge and Gilbert Ivel? Yeah.
Gary Goodridge.
Gary Goodridge.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Gary Goodridge, and I believe it was Gilbert Ivel. Mm-hmm. And Gary had a real pretty either wife or girlfriend, but she was all done up, long braids, and Gary gets caught, I think, with a head kick. And so he's knocked out. And while his woman is over there with everybody else, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
When Gilbert came over and started patting her on the ass, like, if you watched the film, I don't know if he meant to be a scumbag or because he was bent over, like talking to him, like, and talking to Danny and like, hey, or Gary, sorry, I keep calling him Danny, Gary, and I think, you can see on camera, it looks like he's being like a good Samaritan or a good sport coming over, but then why the girlfriend or wife of Goodridge, and I don't know what the relationship was because I was watching a pure Japanese channel, so I couldn't understand what was going on. And you just see, I'm looking at her laughing, I'm like, did he just pat her ass? But I don't know if it was like it meant to be like, like you tap someone on the shoulder, hey, it's going to be okay. It just happened to be like on the back of the ass, and she was bent over on her knee. I was just like, wow, insult to injury there.
No kidding. I have to ask him about that.
Yeah.
Frank, joining us on the phone now is a man who likely needs no introduction, but we'll go over it for you real quick. Former Pride veteran, former King of the Cage veteran, and the veteran of a whole bunch of fights, ladies and gentlemen. It's Charles Felony Bennett. Charles, how you doing?
No, it's Felony Charles Bennett. Why y'all get that wrong all the time, man? Everybody's like, it's John Long Dick Bennett. It's John Longfoot Hustle. No, it's Felony Charles Bennett.
Oh, you want Felony before Charles.
It's not a one, that's what it is.
Okay. It's like when you get knighted by the Queen. It's like Sir. It's not Frank Sir Mir. It's Sir Frank Mir, for example.
Yes, Sir Frank Mir, yes, that is correct.
Not that you've been knighted yet by the Queen.
No, but it's still an opportunity.
I'm sure it's coming.
It's still a possibility.
I'm sure it's coming. All right, Charles. Thanks for joining us. Where you at? Are you in Florida?
No, please call me Felony.
They'll call you Felony. Okay. All right, Felony. Are you okay? Are you in Florida right now?
Yeah, I'm in South Beach. I was down here begging niggas for some weed to smoke because I ain't got no money.
How did that go?
I was trying to smoke. Well, it goes like, hey, I'm on the beach and I see some niggas smoking, and I walk up to them and say, hey, I'll give you 3 seconds of fame if you let me hit your blunt one time, and then I'll be on my YouTube channel live. So. The 3 seconds is I hit their blunt while I'm on YouTube live, and then they got to subscribe to my channel. Like, look at these bitches here. I wish we could have FaceTime so you guys could see me.
Yeah, that was the original idea, and I apologize. We're actually, our studio that we normally broadcast from was unavailable today, so we're actually in my home office. So we got a little makeshift situation going, but it'll be fine. That's pretty smart, to go up and say, "Hey, 3 seconds of fame," because Frank, that's like when we did our
famous. I love you. I'm on the phone with my manager right now. You want to say hello?
Yes. Hello.
Yeah, that was a girl. I was trying to sound all good and shit.
Okay. You were
the gold teeth in the lower man. Hey, I just tried to give you some props, then, bro. I said I was on the phone with my manager and I'm famous, and the bitch kept walking. She didn't believe me.
She wasn't even impressed by that. Well, right? That's all right. That's worth a shot. I mean, anything we can do to help you close the deal. Now, who are you with there, Charles? There's someone else in the background. Who's your friend?
Yeah, that's Everett.
Okay,
that's Big T.
All right, so we'll say hello to Everett.
Hello, people.
Hey, Everett. So I tell you what, Felony, I want to start with this because Frank and I have talked about bare knuckle fighting. And it's becoming all the rage, and Frank himself has been offered a bare knuckle fight in the past. Nothing's really come together, but that's been topic of conversation. So, Frank, I thought it might be interesting to kind of get Charles' perspective, Felony's perspective, about what what it's like to do one of these bare knuckle things.
You get back to the hotel. Fuck this shit. Ain't no weed up here.
Yeah,
I ain't got no weed up here.
Oh,
I'm sorry, guys.
It's okay.
I get high. I smoke dope all the time, and the only reason why I promote it now because my whole career, that's all these fucks been thinking. I'm on all these different drugs, so fuck y'all niggas. I'm on them. If you want to put me on them, I'm agree with you.
Well, I think it's probably better to be on the organic stuff. So
yeah, well, crack is organic if I'm making it.
Well, yeah. I guess that's kind of a farm to table concept.
And cocaine is organic. If you're eating the popular.
You know, Frank, maybe something Charles Felony should look into these days is like a dispensary deal. I don't know how it is in Florida, but out here in Vegas, where Frank and I live, these dispensaries are everywhere. You ought to pick one of those up as a sponsor.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going through some legal woes right now, though.
Oh,
with,
right.
Possession of marijuana. I got arrested in Georgia back in October. They took $11,000 from me and some weed cartridges, a little bit of weed, and they said I'm the biggest drug dealer they've met.
Wait a minute. They said you're the biggest drug dealer they've met in Georgia?
Yeah, well, it was a little nigger town, so I guess that's why.
All right. Well, is that still pending? Do you have to get that cleared up, or where's all that at?
Yeah, well, I'm fighting for that right now. My lawyer says that considering that they took so much money, and niggas normally don't fight for it, that's why they're not coming up off it. But my thing of it is, shit, it wasn't drug money, you know what I'm saying? So you motherfucking right, I'm fighting for this shit.
Yeah.
It's my money. I ain't sold no dope in fucking almost 20 years, so y'all are not finna just take that saying. And then I got contracts. I had just fought for bare knuckle for a large amount of money. I won't say, but and then one of my fans on my YouTube channel gave me a large amount of money. So.
Well, I tell you what, Felony, let's pick it up there because Frank has a theory on bare knuckle about how you think it's actually better, and maybe we can kind of get into it from that, and then like to get your perspective on that, having been in one of these fights. Go ahead and explain that, Frank, about your theory about
actually, I was
hand
telling
wrapping.
Richie that when you wrap your hands, it allows you to punch harder. So the guys that hit hard, it helps reinforce the back of their hand, keeps it from breaking. So the bare knuckle, with not as much reinforcement.
Hey, Frank, fuck that nigga, Frank. I agree with you 100,000%, though. Like, that bare knuckle shit really is. People are saying, oh, it's this and it's this, that. Nah, I hit fucking really hard. And, my last fight with bare knuckle, which was also my first fight, man, I hit dude with a left hook. And from that left hook, I couldn't throw no more punches. And then let's not say how much of a warrior I am, though. A lot of these niggas out here taking steroids and creatine and all this fuck ass shit that the doctor said, hey, you should take this because it's going to make you feel better. You're fucking crazy. The human body is so awesome. I don't take no creatines. I don't take no steroids. I was talking to this living legend fighter a week ago, and he was like, hey, you should catch your testosterone. I'm like, nigga, fuck no, I'm not into that shit. You know what I'm saying? That's not something I'm into. My dick gets hard every day of the week. I still wake up with the hardy. So I'm cool on that. So my thing of it is, yeah, that bare knuckle with that one wrap around your hand, and like Frank said, if a nigga is hitting hard, he gonna fuck up his hand.
Yeah. That's why actually it's safer. I tell everybody that, like, hey, getting hit with a guy with his hands only barely wrapped isn't as bad as having a guy fully wrapped up.
Yeah. Now, Frank, is that something? I mean, this thing really does seem to be catching on. There's different competing promotions out there and everything, but I mean, if the timing's right and the money's right and all that kind of stuff, is that something you would still entertain?
Yeah, absolutely. I would. Yeah. Just the one organization I was talking to seemed like they were just having some issues with, guaranteeing people were going to get paid.
Yeah,
I'm too old.
Bro.
Right. Were you Felony? Were you happy with the promotion so far? The way bare knuckle went for you? You didn't have one of these bad experiences like some other people have had.
No. Hey, like I was telling them niggas the other when all that crazy shit came out. My check cleared, so
okay.
I don't have a problem with these guys. I don't have no problem with nobody. Yep. My check cleared.
The check cleared,
and the police didn't come get me. Because, someone said they didn't write it for me. So, yeah, I'm good on that.
Right.
No one did me wrong.
Okay.
Except for those UK guys.
The UK guys?
What happened there?
Yeah, them niggas still owe me $500. And then somebody come fight for them again. Hell no. I need to get this $500.
Which UK promotion is that?
I can't even remember it. I have to go look.
Oh, yeah.
But it just goes for any UK promotion though. Like that one promotion, I feel like it fucked me over. And my thing of it is, shit, I can't go to another country and act a wildin' fool about my money.
Mm-hmm. So
I say fuck all the promotions.
Now you're cleared to fight at this point. Are you looking for another? MMA fight at this point? Or are you going back to bare knuckle?
No, I wanna do the MMA before I go back to bare knuckle.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I say, I broke my finger back in I'm sorry guys, there's so many beautiful bitches down here right now.
Sure.
Beautiful ladies. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for calling you women bitches. You're beautiful ladies. You're beautiful, gorgeous women.
Yeah.
I just wanna
you'll probably get a little further with that.
You never know.
Hmm? Yeah, I guess it depends on the neighborhood.
It depends on the girl.
Yeah. So back to MMA first. Now, I also hear that you've been training at Fusion with a friend of our show, guy who's joined us in studio fairly recently, Mike Platinum Perry and Jacare over there as well, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's good. That's good because I tell everyone, after I got my hand, the doctor just cleared me Wednesday that I could start grappling. So I'll probably be back down to Fusions next week. But like I said, I've been to Fusion almost a month before I had to go through all this doctoring stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I just feel like the guys that are there are high caliber. I could really up my game there. So
yeah.
That'll be my full-time gym. And anyone that knows me, I never trained full-time. I feel like, hey, my talent was way better than a lot of these niggas. But these bitches training every day now, so I got to get my shit the same way.
Yeah.
I got to get that cardio.
Felony, when I look over all your record, all the different promotions you fought in and stuff like that, I imagine we could probably keep you on all day telling crazy stories about some of the more Wild West type promotions that you fought in. But do any of those stories come to mind in terms of, is there one or two that stand out that, when you're just telling stories in the locker room, it was like the craziest circumstance ever?
The Candy story, the Candy. When I knocked out Candy.
Yes.
And everyone always like, hey, so what is your best fight? What was your best fight? What is it? And it's like, it's the Candy fight. The Candy fight was the best fight because it's a fight that no one's seen. Everyone is doubting me on it. So fuck everybody, you know what I'm saying? That's why every time that punk-ass, faggot-ass nigga see a nigga, he want to fight. He want to fight. Why you want to fight, nigga? Like I say, the first time I met him since that shit, I look at, hey, Frank, this is a question for you, right? If you had a little nigga saying he knocked you out, I knocked you out, and this shit been going on for years, and then when you finally see this nigga, what would be your reaction?
I'd make sure we straighten out what he was saying.
You what?
I'd make sure we straighten out what was being said.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's no, we ain't finna be talking this shit, nigga. Now, my thought of it, right? My theory of it. If I was in the same shoe, right? Okay, Candy Lay weighs me out. I weighs me about 60, 70 pounds, right?
Yeah.
So my thought of it is, okay, nigga, you know what happened in that locker room. But when you see me, you approach me with caution. Why did you approach me with caution? Had it been me and a nigga lying on me and I'm big, I'm weighing this nigga 60 to 70 pounds, bitch, when I see you on the mat, nigga, I'm at you. I don't give a fuck. We're at the goddamn church house, nigga. We fighting right there and I'm taking off. I'm running full speed. So that's all I'm saying.
I mean, this is an incredible grudge, because that's got to, has that been like 15 years now? That goes back a long ways, right, Felony?
That's the thing, though. I don't have a grudge. You know what I'm saying? I won the fight. You know what I mean? I won. I knocked him out. Y'all, they can show whatever they want to show on that edited ass tape or camera or whatever.
Yeah.
But I knocked him out. You know what I'm saying? And the thing of it is, it's the best feeling in the world. Do
you remember what started all that in the first place? I know it's a long way back, but
that's what I'm saying. Like, I tell this story so many times, man. You know it's not a lie. Bro, can you get us home, bro? Can you chill? No, bro, you just want to... Man, do your interview. I'm doing my interview, but goddamn, nigga, I'm ready to 30 seconds, man. Do your interview. Goddamn, run around, nigga. I'll wait you now. I ain't graduating.
Everett's driving, I hope, right? Is Everett operating the vehicle?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Listen, Everett's got a fucking womanly fetish, man. Every woman that he see, he got a fucking circle of blocks for him. Oh my God. God damn, nigga. Oh my God. Circle the block. Circle me to the block where I got this weed at.
Oh boy.
Circle around a couple of eyes.
Now we kind of glossed over something there, Felony. Were you saying that since all this has happened, you've seen Vanderlei again, or you're just saying if you did see?
No. I'm saying when I seen him in
Risen,
when I seen his faggot ass in Risen. You guys remember? I got that 6-second knockout that everybody said no over 7 seconds. No, bitch, it was a low 6 seconds, and it was Candy Lay's girlfriend, son or girlfriend.
Oh,
I don't know what. Personally, I think the nigga gay anyway. Every time you get in an argument with another man, you suck my dick, waving your dick at a nigga like, nigga, you gay. And then that shit that he said in the interview, I want to fight. I want to fuck with Shell. I want to fight Shell. I mean, no, bitch, you want to fuck Shell. That's what you said.
Okay, I see. There might have been something lost in the
interview.
Translation.
Tell me you don't remember that interview when he was in the goddamn Bellator cage. And that's another thing that hurts me, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk facts and legitimacy, right? Okay, here's facts. Yeah, I got 300 domestic violence. Never been to prison for it, but it's 300 domestic violence on one chick, right? One chick. I'm 11 years domestic violence clean, right? And then now I'm looking at all this fucking UFC shit. And when all my shit first came to pass, I went and tried out for the TUF. And they told me that I could not get on the TUF because of my domestic violence. Because of my domestic violence. And then why the fuck I see this retarded ass, big, goofy looking, pretty ass nigga that first fight in the goddamn UFC, he get a disqualification. Not only that, goddamn, the NFL lets you go, nigga. The NFL is way bigger than the UFC. And they let you go, nigga, because of all your recent domestics.
We're talking about Greg Hardy.
Yeah,
we're talking about Greg Hardy.
Oh,
okay.
Oh, that's that nigger's name.
Yeah.
I knew that nigger's name was something Hardy.
Yeah. Well, listen, Felony, I I am right there with you in terms of the arbitrary line of ethics with this stuff. I think that it's very arbitrary in terms of what's tolerated and what's not, and it seems like it has a lot to do with right place, right time. And
but you can see what Charles' point is.
What's that?
Felony's point is that it's just one girl that he obviously has had an issue with.
Oh, right. Yes.
She was just pushing his buttons.
Yes. Yeah.
Hey, Frank, I can't hear you, nigga.
Okay. Go ahead, Frank.
No, I was saying that your point, Felony, is that it was one chick that you have an issue with. One girl that specifically was pushing your buttons. You're just not,
Well, one thing I learned in batters and defending classes, we don't have buttons. However, we do have feelings and emotions. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, yeah, it's one chick. But you got to think now, if you catching domestic violence on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different other chicks, the chick, nigga, it's you. You're the fucking problem. Because every chick, and like I said, I'm 11-year domestic violence king. 11 years, right? And the UFC they didn't want to bring me in because of it. But then you bring Greg Hardy in. You know what I'm saying? I could have been the face of this shit. Because now look, you got fucking Matt Hughes that's fucking jumped on his girl. You got fucking BJ Penn. You got fucking Tony Ferguson. Yeah, you should have fucking had Felony Charles Bennett in that bitch to tell these guys, hey, man, that shit ain't right. There's other ways to do shit. There's other ways you can handle shit. And best way to do it is, if you can't communicate, nigga, go fuck another bitch.
Get in there and scare them straight, because it does sound like now there is enough to fill a classroom, or at least half of one.
Actually, I think I would never expect to get this deep with Felony, man.
Well, listen,
I didn't think we'd be getting this deep. That's pretty interesting.
Well,
yeah, but that's what I'm saying though. You know why? Because I'm not made up. You know, you got Connor made up. You got all these other guys that's made up. Nigga, I'm the original. Nigga, I'm the original. That I was been talking shit about this shit. I've been doing this shit, and not once have I have any fucking no United States welcoming party. I can go to any other country, and I'm loved dearly. Fucking Russia, Japan, Australia, China. My country that I fucking live in, not once. You bring fucking Dada and Kimbo fight. Kimbo, you bring Dada and Kimbo to a main event Bellator fight. Dada's never had a real MMA fight. And why the fuck am I still over here struggling? Felony Charles Bennett still over here struggling.
Well, I'm gonna say this, Felony. You are obviously a man of passion. I mean, you wear the passion on your sleeve, so obviously that's what they're appreciating internationally.
When you say, well, fuck that nigga, I need the money.
No, that too. That's how they ultimately show the appreciation. All right, so let's do this, Felony. We appreciate the time you spent with us. Tell everybody where they can find this YouTube channel where they themselves can get the 3 minutes of fame for hooking you up, or 3 seconds of fame for hooking you up with some weed. Where do people find you on that YouTube?
Oh, Felony Charles Bennett.
All right.
All my social media sites. Let me explain this to you niggas too, man, because you niggas. Hey, Frank Mir is a big little. Hey, and when y'all see that nigga Joe Rogan, tell him he's a bitch.
Okay.
Joe Rogan, you's a fucking bitch. Don't ever fucking use
Everett
a fucking
like that
idiot. Don't ever fucking use an idiot.
All right. Felon?
Jiu-Jitsu 101. No, bitch. Ain't no Jiu-Jitsu 101. The fucking nigga had help. You know? I went out to that fight by myself. Fought it. I'm not one of the top Brazilians out by myself. I'm just a by myself ass nigga. But yeah, you can find me on all social media sites, Felony Charles Bennett. If you come on my social media site with the disrespect, and what I mean by disrespect, you can call me a nigger. You can do whatever you want to do, but if you call me crazy horse, I'm gonna block that ass, because that's the form. That's a disrespect I just can't accept.
Okay.
So you feel what I'm saying? So we could be arguing and shit, like, you dirty ass niggers. I hate niggers, and I won't even block you. I'll be like, okay, well then, maybe Maybe, we could link up with your mom sometime. I don't know. But I won't block you, I don't care about you calling me a nigga. It's just a fucking word. But when a manager of mine tells me that Crazy Horse has millions and millions of dollars invested in it, in that name,
yeah,
and I'm around here, borrowing $50 from Everett until I get paid off YouTube, it's crazy. Fuck Crazy Horse. It's Felony Charles Bennett.
All right. Okay.
Stands for, you know what felony stands for?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Felony stands for, the acronym for felony stands for fuck everybody left offended year. It spells out felony.
Yeah. That's like, that reminds me of Gary Busey. He always has the acronyms. Everything is like a motivational acronym, and felony's got one for felony.
I like it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, man,
Nice.
we appreciate the time. Hey, keep us posted. When you book your next fight, we'll bring you back on. We'll talk about that if you're willing. And have Everett just get you guys home safely. Make sure he's staying straight on the road there.
Yeah, I'm going to do my best, baby. Do my best.
Okay. All right. Well, guys.
He says he loves my driving. He says I'm the only one he can go to sleep with. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, man. I go to sleep at. Hey, listen, this nigga got a fucking Audi A6, right?
Uh-huh.
The motherfucker say 180 on the dashboard. When I get in this motherfucker, this nigga do 160 of that 180.
Oh, my goodness. Now,
So,
all right.
so,
Well,
so if we crash, I'm already dead. I'm asleep, so I'm already dead. No, it's pretty safe. I ain't gonna lie to that.
all right. Come on. Tell Everett to slow it down a little
bit. Nigga drive this bitch so fast, my nigga. And it's a 5-hour drive. We'll get to Ocala in 3.
I wonder if it's like you and I, Frank, where when I'm driving and you fall asleep, you wake up and we're lost in the woods.
Yeah, but hey, man.
All right, Felony, Everett, listen, we'll talk to you guys later. We appreciate you coming on with us, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, later, guys. We'll see you on YouTube. Stay in touch. All right.
Make sure you guys subscribe to my YouTube channel.
Felony Charles Bennett. All right, we'll do it.
Yes, sir.
We'll see you, man.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, guys. Later.
Thank you, guys.
All right, bye.
That was interesting.
That may be one of the most unruly. That may be the most unruly interview that's ever occurred on this podcast.
Yeah, I never realized I don't know how to do interviews like that.
Yeah,
you were able to pick up and ask questions. I was just sitting there like going, "Where do we go with this?"
You seemed on the verge of shutting down.
Yeah,
I was afraid you were going to do that thing you do. A lot of people don't know that when you get highly stressed out, your defense mechanism is you just go to sleep. Right? I was afraid that might happen. But
I was just trying to figure out how it worked. I was like, man, this is just a lot of chaos.
Yeah.
No organized, trying to get a thought in a certain direction. And stuff.
We had a lot going on there. I mean, we had Charles Bennett doing his stream of consciousness, and then Everett, he was an unexpected cameo. I guess Charles has a sidekick there. There was a lot of cross conversation going on and all that between him and Everett and the road and the ladies walking by and trying to score the weed. And
I think if Bennett is a real interesting guy, man. I think that people would tune in and watch him if he was on a card. Mm-hmm. The only problem is that it's kind of like where the positive side is that other people are playing a part and they might not be as crazy as they project themselves as, and it's a way of a ploy of entertaining fans. He really is that crazy. So I understand that organizations are like, man, we're going to put this much money behind this guy to advertise. Is he going to show up the night of the fight?
Yeah.
Are we going to be able to get him on there? So maybe, where other people come out of the shell more, he has to somehow tighten up a little bit.
Yeah, no trouble getting him out of his shell.
No.
He was out of his shell.
Yeah, it's going to be, I think, when we're looking up his stats.
He may not have a shell. That may be a no-shell kind of guy.
I think he's 40, or he's going to be 40.
Yeah, that's right. No, he's 39, I believe, 39. Very good. Now, let's see. You were in New York this past week. What were you doing? I didn't know you were in New York.
Hedge fund stuff.
Okay.
It was actually
Well, you are diversifying.
yeah, right. A friend of mine manages basically like how people manage fighters. He manages hedge fund traders, and then hooks them up. So he has a Rolodex of billionaires that want people to help run their money, and he helps negotiate contracts between the people that are going to do this. And so, in the past, he's thrown money our way just, to hang out. So he first did it with Chuck Liddell, and he said that was a big hit. So then he came and talked to me. He goes, hey, Chuck I brought out, but, Chuck, once we got to the, I think, the drinking element of it was in his element, but we're all sitting there having dinner. You could just tell he was uncomfortable. The conversation just wasn't going his way. I'm going to try to go and see, hey, you seem like you'd be able to hold the conversation, decently well. And so I had done one a couple months ago with him where we just sit there, there's billionaires at the table, people that trade their money. And, I guess I was like the celebrity, guy, which is cool because I just sit there and ask questions and talk. And the funny thing is 99% of the time so far I've done these things. And this time it was me and Dan Henderson.
Wait, Dan Henderson was there too?
Yeah, he was the other prostitute. And so,
gross. It's like the worst looking sex show I can imagine in my head.
No, that's why I tell people, like, I'm actually like a call girl sometimes because people will pay me money to hang out with them. I don't have to bang anybody as of yet. I haven't done that, but,
Oh, that's funny. I'd like to hang out with Dan Henderson and you, but I get to hang out with you all the time.
Yeah, I get to hang out, and learn shit, you know what I mean? Because some of those guys, the Wall Street guys are sitting just talking about shit, and I'll start asking questions. Like I think one of the guys was saying like Uber's non-profitable, and they went into this whole debate about Uber. I have Uber on my phone. It's about as fucking deep as I get on the subject. But when they were explaining just the different intricacies of how the money works and where what promises they made and what they've had to do and where it actually is the profit, I was like, oh shit, just interesting stuff that like if you're not in that world, basically us talking jiu-jitsu and somebody's never seen a jiu-jitsu match. It's like wow, it's like you don't realize how much there is behind it.
Do you watch Billions on Showtime?
No, I think we've had this conversation.
Really good show.
Yeah.
If that whole world, it's partially written or co-written by Andrew Ross Sorkin, who wrote the book Too Big to Fail about the whole 2008 Wall Street crash and all that kind of stuff going on. Yeah. So it's I mean, obviously it's a fictitious show and it's got a lot of sensationalism, but it is kind of rooted in reality. Like, Paul Giamatti, who's a great actor, he plays, an attorney from the Southern District of New York, which is the big, that's the part of the judicial system that oversees all Wall Street and all that kind of stuff, the whole New York scene area. And they got a guy, Bobby Axelrod, on there who's kind of like, he's the hedge fund, billionaire bad guy kind of thing. And anyway, it's a very good show. It's been on for, they're probably like 5 seasons in or something. Yeah, that's right.
I gotta find someone else to watch.
Do you do Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've watched it too, and I'm watching it right toward the end. I have to be honest with you. I have a, Chan Kinchler from Blues Traveler is so into, like, he read all those books before Game of Thrones started, so he knew all those stories.
I need to do that now. I want to go back and actually read the books.
Yeah, because I have only seen the show, and I'll own up to, because I haven't always been able to 100% focus every time I'm watching it or whatever over the years. I haven't retained everything. I get the general idea of why people are fighting the other people and things like that.
Yeah, I think it was, it's funny because I go on the internet a lot. I love Reddit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people seem to have a problem with this season. And I really don't. You know what I mean? Like the guy, what's his name? Jamie Lannister. Mm-hmm. Everybody's pissed off. Well, here's spoiler alerts. If you haven't watched this last season of fucking turn off, because I'm about to talk about the show. Lannister, the guy Jamie, he was with Brienne. It looked like he had, he'd first you hated him because he threw Bran Stark from the window. He's incestual, relationship with his sister. The guy's just like a fucking grade A fucking scumbag. And then I found myself rooting for the motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like, jumping into the pit, the bear to save Brienne, and, the guy lost his hand to keep her from being raped. And, so you sit there and go, wow, this guy's, now he's made a transformation to be a good guy. And then he goes and says, fuck it. And he goes back and he goes and finds his sister. And I'm like, oh, he's going to go kill her. That was my theory. I'm like, oh, well, now it's going to be the true definition of we came into this world together and I'm going to help take you out. And then he goes back. He's like, no, fuck it. I love you. You're my thing. And I was like, wow, you know what? I think the reason why I like the Game of Thrones, it's very human. It's very much based in reality, where I'm like sitting there going, there really isn't a good guy or a bad guy. You know what I mean? It's like, we're just people that have moments where we do good shit, and we have moments where we do fucked up shit. We have weaknesses and stuff. And I think that just shows that was always his weakness, was Cersei. That was his Achilles heel, that he's always, that was his drug habit or his overeating habit or whatever you want to fucking, everybody has their fucking McDonald's issue, right? And that was his. And in the end, he fucking, they died together. I was like, oh, you know what? That actually made sense to me.
There seems to, I had no idea that there's basically no answer for these fire-breathing dragons. Like, apparently, for a while there, they had that one, what they call them, the scorpion thing.
That's why the one episode, the guy Euron, and he fucking, okay, now that is an issue. I'm like, wow, at one point, like, okay, you're a fucking dragon. You're up in the fucking sky. You don't see a fleet of fucking ships over there? Like, I mean, I guess if you were telling the story to a bunch of people that have never flown in an airplane, but myself being in a plane, I realize that you have a very far vantage that you can see shit. And I'm just sitting there going, okay, I mean, how fast is that fucking dragon that she flew right up on top of them and didn't see them because they're moving fucking the sound of speed? I mean, so I thought that was kind of fucking,
there seems to be no answer for this fire breathing. I was like, if this is that much of a one-sided fight, this could have been taken care of after a season or two.
I liked it. That's why I like this last episode so much, because here the second dragon dies. Rhaegar, right? I think it was, gets killed and sniped out of the sky like a fucking, Euron is fucking, Chris Kyle and shit. And, then the next day, cause you're sitting there and then they cut off Missandei's head and I'm like, yeah, fuck them. You know what I mean? Like, but then it was like, we got to have, did you see this last episode? Yeah, you sit there and you're watching her just fucking, she flips a switch, she turns the Mad Queen and starts fucking frying everybody. At a certain point, I'm like, oh, fuck, stop, dude. Like,
yeah.
Like, I'm like, wow, I've never had it to where I've rooted for someone to want to win. And then all of a sudden you maybe not actually realize that was a bad choice that I wanted. Like, you gave it to me, but almost like gave it to me so much that I'm like, oh yeah, I wanted a slice of pie, but Jesus Christ, you just made me fucking eat the whole pie. Like, now I don't even want to fucking look at it.
Well, and along those lines, the other question I had is there a finite amount of fire or is this
what? I was thinking that was the motherfuckers are burning up the village. I mean, I know it's a whole different universe and this is fantasy land, but like, I like it when there's some plausibility. I mean, obviously, I mean, the wingspan, the way the arms work, it isn't floating through the sky. The dragon has, is based on some whatever, basics of their reality of physics. But yeah, I was wondering that too. I'm like, okay, so it just has an unlimited amount of fire, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, if it's breathing up gas, like, or it's expending a gas, like, where the fuck's it coming from?
Yeah, is it just constantly
Fusion
reproducing the fire? Yeah, I don't know.
Nuclear power.
Now, did you notice you probably saw this from a few weeks back, but did you notice the coffee cup?
Not until everybody else pointed out to me.
Yeah. You know what I thought sucked was that they went back and digitally removed it. And because it wasn't a Starbucks cup. That's what everybody thought at first. It was a Starbucks cup, but it's from because I guess they filmed that in Scotland. It was from some little mom and pop coffee house place that they get coffee from. And I thought, well, that sucks, because for that coffee place, that was like the ultimate product placement.
There's still shots of it, screen grabs that they can post up on their. And it's, I mean, everybody's going to remember that it was there. So
No, I just thought it'd be a cool thing to leave in there, because I was like you. I didn't notice it until somebody pointed it out.
Yeah,
so.
That's why I'm always amazed when people can see such details and shit. Or like right now, I was reading about how like there's some actor that they've used who's an extra, and they've used him enough times in different scenes that people are like, oh, it's that guy.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, really? I can't tell
I knew people when I lived in Dallas. Chuck Norris filmed Walker, Texas Ranger there, and I had friends that had been killed on that show like 3 times.
That's funny
because they always looked for people that looked like us because they always made him the drug dealers or whatever.
Right.
Those are always the people he was chasing.
That'd be funny. You playing a drug dealer?
Yeah, yeah. I notice continuity issues sometimes. Like I'll notice like in Pulp Fiction, for example. There's the scene with Christopher Walken and the pocket watch and all that.
Right.
So there's a clock on the wall, and
he's bringing it to the young Bruce Willis, right?
Yeah, and the clock is not keeping real time. So, like, when they're cutting back and forth from the perspective, you'll notice it'll jump ahead like 20 minutes or something like that. Yeah, I mean, I'll notice little things like that. Or I'll tell you another one you can notice sometimes is when there is a scenario, and I'm trying to think of an example, like, okay, let's say like today was a movie, and you're coming over here, and there's a scene of you leaving the house, and then the next scene is you're going to be sitting here in my room. But they realized that in the movie, they didn't really explain in the story to all the characters that you were going to do the podcast. Because like maybe your wife is in the first shot, but they look at it and they go, "Oh, wait a second, her character, she wouldn't have any idea where he's going." So what you'll see sometimes is, say you're talking to her in that one scene, and then you turn to get in the car. When your back is to the camera, you'll hear a voiceover where they would have your character come in after the fact and do a voiceover where you're like, "I'll see you later. I'm going to do the podcast." And we don't see you saying it.
Oh, okay.
And sometimes if the audio is not exactly the perfect level, it'll sound a little different. Not a lot different, but a little different. Yeah, so sometimes when you see somebody's back turned, they're basically doing a voiceover to help the continuity of the story.
Well, I did know from just me working on movie sets, little B-movie stuff I've done, like, for example, like when it was Steven Seagal, a little like B-movie I did.
Yeah.
Any scene where you don't directly see his face, it's not him.
Oh, right, yeah.
Like they had 3 extras that looked like him that were there. And I'm not saying to do the fight scenes. I mean, but like anytime, like it could be a fight scene, and if you can see his face, it's him doing it. But if all of a sudden, like they're going to cut to an angle where it's him from behind, he's like, "Later, I'm out of here. You could pay this guy now to do it."
Yeah.
It's much cheaper. Or if they do a scene where like Ving Rhames came in and had a scene where they filmed a couple parts of it because it was, you could see Seagal's face in the scene, but then there's other parts where like the camera's panning over Seagal's shoulder. It ain't Seagal. And
right.
He's like, I don't know. I guess actors are like, "Fuck this. I don't have time to sit here and be an extra. If you don't see my face, it's not me."
How many? That was the one where you like. Did you like hit somebody in the back of the head or shoot somebody or something?
I got to hit him on the back of the head, and then I got shot.
Yeah. Well, how many of those movies do you think you've done?
Just 2. Just 2 times I've been on little B-movie sets.
Okay. I thought none more than 2?
No, just 2.
Okay.
I think.
All right. I thought maybe you'd done a few more than that. We should have the Frank Mir Film Festival sometime.
Oh, actually, no, you're right. I've done 3 times because then I forgot the
I think you're forgetting it again.
The tornado. Sharknado 4.
Oh, Sharknado. Sharknado 4.
Yeah, I made a cameo in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So 3 times.
Yeah, we could do the Frank Mir Film Festival sometime.
Right.
Just the scenes, though. You know what I mean? Just like, we'll just set aside.
It would take about 2 minutes.
Awesome. All right. Yeah, I wasn't sure why you were in New York because I didn't even realize you were not here. But this weekend we got we're gonna have a big birthday party for you.
No.
I'm excited because there's vegan food. Yeah,
We're
doing over at No Regrets Bar.
Yeah.
Joining us on the phone now, Frank, is a guy training out of Jackson Winklejohn these days, and he's got a big fight coming up in your promotion, Bellator, a couple of weeks from now. He's taking on Dylan Dennis, the jiu-jitsu sensation. Let's say hello to Max Humphrey. Max, nice to meet you, man. How you doing?
Hey, how's it going, guys? How are you?
Good. Glad to have you. Well, this is a big opportunity. Let's start first with that. A couple of weeks away, you and Dylan Dennis in Bellator. And, for a guy in Dennis that I guess it's just one professional fight so far at this point, he's really made a splash, a lot of news. Of course, he comes decorated from the jiu-jitsu world and has been a running buddy of Conor McGregor. I guess that sort of thing helps. But what was that like for you to get the call that you're going to be involved in a pretty high profile situation for Bellator?
Well, I mean, it's an awesome feeling, but really, I was in the middle of training. I got a call from the manager, and he said, "Hey, you're fighting in Bellator." Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
I mean, the shows are cool. Where they have them is cool, like all of that stuff. But they're all. I mean, a fight's a fight. I mean, that door's gonna shut, and that'll be that. We're gonna have a fight.
Do you know what got you on their radar specifically for this fight? I mean, was this a situation where they were kind of looking at you anyway to bring you into Bellator, or was there anything specific to the Danis fight you think that caught their attention where you're concerned?
No, I knew they were looking, but as far as specifically for this fight, I don't think it had any. I don't know if it had anything to do with it specific or not. Other than that, I was already, working on that direction.
Yeah. Now, Max, you're training out of Jackson Winklejohn, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yep. Now, Frank, you years back trained out of Jackson Winklejohn, but that was before they moved over to the nice place where Max trains.
It was.
You trained over there at that place where you got to be careful going to your car after you leave the gym, right? You remember that place?
It was just extra training. Yeah. Had to stay sharp,
That's just Albuquerque in general, man.
This is true. I got to admit, I mean, not that I'm probably going to piss off some people in Albuquerque, but most places in Albuquerque, you kind of got to keep your head on a swivel,
For sure. I lived at the gym for 4 months the first time I came down here, and I got a bar on Central, I got a job at a bar on Central at the library, and that's how I fed myself while I was here.
Okay.
So I get it. Like, they closed down the whole street. There's a nice 12-pack of cops, sitting on the front on Central. Like, they're there for a reason. Like,
yeah. So that's not what you're used to then, Max. Where are you from originally?
Well, I moved here from Missouri, but I spent most of my time in Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay. Yeah, very nice. I'm actually wearing I'm wearing a Ryman Auditorium T-shirt right now. You ever go see any shows there?
Yeah, I've been to the Ryman a few times, my man.
Yeah. I'm I don't know if you know who Jason Isbell is, but I'm a big Jason Isbell fan. Used to be in the Drive-By Truckers. And he does a residency every year at the Ryman where he plays like 12 straight shows or something. I always have wanted to go to those. So I'm envious. Do you know the Ryman? Where they used to do the Grand Ole Opry, Frank?
No, I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, they call it the Mother Church. It's like there's like church pews in it. And a ton of famous country artists have played there. Do you remember anybody you've seen there, Max? Any big shows?
Shit. I was normally working.
Oh, you worked
they
there?
Have whenever, or like, let's see. While I was working, I was like, man, there's been so many people that's come through there. Like, it's Nashville, so like you get to see, like, I met Kid Rock on a 3-foot stage on Printer's Alley in a little hole-in-the-wall bar that's like 60 feet long and 8 feet wide.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just sitting right there playing the guitar. Like, oh shit, hey, what's up, man? Like, I don't remember exactly right off because, like I said, I was just working, so most of the time.
That's how Nashville is. I remember the first time I went to Nashville, Frank, it just so happened we were driving in the middle of the night, kind of a deserted street, and I saw a guy with a bottle in his hand, and he was kicking a guitar case down the street, and I heard him muttering something about how they wouldn't know talent if it bit him in the ass or something like that. And I was like, boy, this is the perfect introduction to Nashville. Here's somebody who's had their dreams crushed, and I'm getting to watch it real time. Funny. Well, so Max, what you've had? How long you been a pro? Like 5 fights now, something like that?
Probably a little bit longer than that.
Okay.
Right at a year or so.
Okay. So wow. Well, So that's 5 fights in a year or more.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right.
It was,
You're coming.
It was probably like 15 months or something.
Okay, coming out of the gate busy. Well, you're definitely going to have the experience advantage then in this Danis fight. Is this a guy that you cared to know much about, or you had seen very much? I don't know how much grappling and stuff like that you watch or anything, but was that anybody you knew a lot about beforehand before you got the fight?
No, not really. As far like their style is so much different. As far as like BJJ tournament style.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got two guys that have competed with him before, that I've been training with for quite a while now. It's mainly learning the tricks from the gi that transfers over real hardcore to the no gi or into the situations where you can apply ground and pound to it. No slouch on the ground. I mean, we've been going over this for a while now, so I'm not too worried about it. You're actually the first guy that's mentioned that, though, which I find funny. This guy's got one fight, and I'm knocking on the door of almost 30 with amateur and pro together.
Oh, yeah. No.
So,
dog.
Do you kind of get that feeling that basically everybody else kind of knows who he is because of his association, with McGregor, and then how he's marketed himself, his success he's had in the jiu-jitsu world? Are you getting the sensation that people are looking at you as just a guy who's being, okay, they're just trying to get me lined up so that, a fight that's winnable for Danis, and they don't realize that this is actually a bad fight for them?
Yeah, I'm not going to bring much attention to it, though. I don't like. To me, I feel like I've got I was given the gift.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know how they're thinking. I'm the nobody, the no name nobody that, they're just gonna get. He's just gonna get fed, I guess. But that's just not going to be the case. And I don't know. Do you
blow it off in your training, or does it help you focus? I mean, I know how it is. Every day in training, you're not every day do we wake up and we're fucking motivated and ready to go. I mean, there's days you're sore, you're tired. Is this a little extra incentive knowing that, okay, guys, you know what I mean? Like, we might have went into this fight talking about, Dennis, but when you leave, you're going to be talking about Max,
For sure, my man. Like that. I don't think there is any other like better motivation for a fighter. I mean, there's some like extreme circumstances, obviously, but we're not going to go there. But yeah, like to shut up the guy that's supposed to be the hype train. Like every fighter wants to do that. Every fighter.
Mm-hmm.
No, and you said and you were saying earlier you don't have to bring attention to it. Is that more of just a personality trait, or kind of like, hey, I'm really not going to wake the guy up if he thinks that I'm, if he's going to make the stupid mistake of thinking this is a walk in the park for him. I don't want to make sure I, bring that attention to it until it's, the night of the fight and we're locked in there, and then he can realize, this was a bad choice.
Oh, of course. I'm a silent assassin. I'm a ninja. I don't care. Like,
yeah,
I'm just fine with being, the no name nobody that just comes in and whoop. Like that's no big deal to me. Like,
yeah,
I'm all right with it.
Exactly.
100%.
Well, give us a little bit of, since this is going to be the first time that a lot of us are going to get a chance to see you, give us a little bit of an idea. I know I was kind of looking at your fight record. I mean, you got, I know there's a knockout on there. There's a submission or two. How do you describe your fighting style in terms of your background that led you to MMA?
It's a very MMA style. A lot of guys are world-class wrestlers or Golden Glove boxers, or they came from a judoka background or something.
Mm-hmm.
Those were just my hobbies growing up as a kid. I just liked them, but I never had like formal everyday train. You know what I mean? Like I joined the Army at 17. So I mean, I wrestled in high school. I did judo. I like to go to the PAL, down to the boxing league, but I never had, like formal traditional, just experience. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't wrestle since I was 5.
Yeah,
I only found it freshman. I got 4 years of wrestling. All right. Well, I joined the military at 17. So my first real introduction to martial arts was, through them.
Mm.
So it was a lot different. It was for the battlefield, It wasn't for an MMA cage or a ring. So whenever I started, I had no intention of ever being a professional fighter. I was going to Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
So some things transfer over, some things don't at all, and some things kind of like hurt you because you have to like out train them.
Yeah.
But as far as like mental toughness and sharpening your mind inside, like there's nothing else.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trade it for anything. So.
How long were you in the military?
I was in for a 6, but I only got to make it like 3.5. I had a bad Jeep rollover accident before shipping to Afghanistan.
Oh, wow.
And I got medically discharged for that. So I gave up my scholarship to wrestle at UTC Chattanooga, and I decided to go Army. Then I went to the Army, was going to Afghanistan, and then had that Jeep accident, so I lost both of them. Bang, right there.
Wow.
So I was kind of like left with neither wrestling nor the Army there at the end.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, shit, what do I do? So that's kind of how MMA happened.
Well, it looks like it's worked out because here in a couple of weeks, there's going to be a big opportunity in that Bellator cage. Real quick, too, Max, what I didn't exactly see the explanation for this. I know this fight was scheduled earlier. I think it was originally going to take place this month, sometime in May. What happened that it got rescheduled?
And this fight has been rescheduled like 3 times.
Oh, okay.
We were supposed to fight in Hawaii on the Fedor card, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But that didn't happen either, and I never really got like legit answers of why.
So it wasn't you. You weren't dealing with injuries or anything like that.
No, it was never. They never canceled because of me.
Okay.
It was always just like it was just shit all in a row, and I would literally getting the call from my manager because like 4 times he told me the fight's canceled and being postponed.
all you know is you got screwed out of a trip to Hawaii, right?
Right?
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad it's finally taking place here in a couple of weeks, and everybody's going to get a chance to see on that big nationally televised stage. Max, how can everybody find you online? You got the social media and all that kind of stuff where people can follow you?
Yeah, I'm at on Instagram. I'm 2 Chill Humphrey.
Okay. Like the number 2?
No, like TOO.
Oh, 2, as in okay, as in too much. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
2 Chill Humphrey. Okay, got it on Instagram. All right, cool. Well, everybody can follow you there, and then we'll get a chance to see you in a couple of weeks. Man, it was nice meeting you and a pleasure talking to you. And stay in touch with us, and let's maybe get you back on again and see how this fight career progresses. It's a big opportunity in a couple of weeks, so best of luck in there against Dylan Dennis.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that, guys. It was awesome talking to you.
Absolutely. All right, we'll talk to you soon. There goes Max Humphrey.
How are you doing with the politics stuff? I've been stuck in a hotel for the last couple of nights, so I've been on the phone reading all the different news articles and just blown away by Alabama.
Yeah, there's a lot to keep up with. I mean, that Alabama anti-abortion law, that is written for a Supreme Court fight.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what I was reading.
It's not written to stand as immediate law. It's like, we're going to make this thing so extreme that it's got to go to the Supreme Court for a fight, and then that's where they're going to try to overturn Roe versus Wade, because, I mean, they wouldn't even stipulate to exemptions for rape and incest and all that kind of stuff. So
I think I do this, I basically do it because of being a fighter. So I do it in all situations. Whenever I'm on one side of a thought, and I got to think, okay, there's this other person who thinks contrary to how I feel. Mm-hmm. I really honestly try to put myself in their shoes. So I can sit there and go, okay, let me become this person. So I'll read their articles. I'll really try to immerse myself into their mindset. So that way, either I could find out maybe I am fucking wrong and they were right and I can correct my, trajectory. or it gives me insight on how I'm going to fight them because I understand how they think. You know what I mean? You try to put yourself in someone else's shoes. And I found I did that with the obviously I'm on pro-life side of the abortion issue. And so reading that, I'm like, how the fuck can someone sit there and go that a 12-year-old being raped is not a case for, you know, to let her be aborted, you know?
No, wait a second. You're saying you're pro-life or you're pro-choice?
Pro-choice, sorry.
Pro-choice,
What did I say?
Pro-life.
Oh, yeah, pro-choice. Pro-choice, sorry. Now, that being said, real quick, if somehow a miracle occurred and because Jennifer and I are not able to have children anymore, if Immaculate Conception was true and Jennifer were to get pregnant, I personally don't ever want my child to be aborted.
Yeah. Do you think you would buy that Immaculate Conception?
No, I think we'd have some
explanation
issues and stuff. Well, you know, even
especially being the atheist.
Even this to this point, where if, you know, let's say I lost my fucking mind and I cheated on my wife and a girl got pregnant, I wouldn't have her have an abortion. Now, I mean, my life's going to be drastically more complex, but me personally, my choice would be like, hey, don't do that. That's my, you know, that's my, you know, that's Cage or Ronan's fucking brother or sister. Like, no, you know what I mean? But I respect everybody can make that choice for themselves. You know what I mean? Like, hey, it's your choice. It's your choice. It's your choice. Personally, I wouldn't make that choice, but I think it's okay that you have that choice. So I'm trying to sit there and go, how can someone be so against just, it seems like common sense type of issues? And I realize, you know, really the linchpin in this whole argument is what people consider life. Because I thought about that. Like, if you told me right now, someone's, you know, a rape victim's 12 years old and now she's 9 months pregnant, she wants to abort the baby. I would say no. No, fuck that. That's a human being. It's fully developed. You can't have an abortion at 9 months. I don't care if it was incest or not. Like, wait a minute. That's a human life. So then I realized, like, oh, that is probably how the pro-lifers are thinking. They just have a different definition of what life is. Whereas I sit there and go, hey, look, man, 15 little cells of together, you know, with no brain, that's not life. That's how I look at it. I'm like, okay, that's not a living creature yet. That's no more living than just when, you know, me as a teenager splooging in my sock and going, well, you're killing your children. I'm all, well, I guess I don't consider that life no more than if I cut my arm and I start to bleed. I'm not looking at the blood going, oh shit, part of my blood is dying. It's like, well, no, that doesn't have autonomy, or I have autonomy from that. Like, it's not the same, you know? And so that's how I view that. But then to have sympathy for people that think pro-choice, and I guess I understand where the problem is just their definition of what life is. If they really truly believe in their heart that at conception is life, that means that how I feel about a 9-month-old baby being destroyed is how they feel about a person who has an abortion at 4 weeks. Even though in my brain, I go, hey, that's not a living creature, but in their brain, yes, it is. So that's where I feel like that this argument becomes so complex, because now we're debating not whether, because I think we all agree that, hey, aborting a human life is awful. That's why don't you agree? I mean, even most pro-choice people don't believe in late-term abortion.
Yeah, I mean, not as just a purely elective idea. Right. I think what gets lost in this a lot of times is that what makes those rare is that a lot of times if that is coming up, you're talking about severe medical issues.
And that, I understand. If you got to put the life of I would always put the life of the mother before I put the life before a human, you know, the baby. It's like, okay, well, look, this is an established person already. And that is a very callous probably call for me to say, but if I have to choose between my unborn child or the mother of my other children, I'm choosing the wife. I'm choosing my mother to live, you know, the mother, that. You know, but in a situation where, let's say, like, the woman comes forward and we find out that it was incest that created the baby, I'm not going to sit there and go, well, now at 9 months or 8 months pregnancy, you can have an abortion. Go ahead. I sit there and go, well, no, I understand that this started out as a really fucked up situation, but killing a human being over this doesn't outweigh. It's like, okay, yeah, that was rape and that's incest or whatever, the awful criteria we want to establish, but now this is murder. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think the one outdoes the other. But again, so I think we have the same definitions of what we think about murdering a child. It's just, I think where everybody fucking has a misconnect or where we have the disagreement is where we established and what we value. Like, to me, like, look, and I put my money where my mouth is. When I went in and did my trust, my wife, if I, tomorrow, on the way home right now, if I get into a car wreck and they bring me in the thing and I have a heartbeat, but I have no brain waves, you can't put me on a machine. I have it explicitly written down that if there is no brain waves, I'm not alive. Like, I don't care if every other part of my body's alive. If my brain doesn't exist, I don't exist.
Not me. Keep me plugged in. I'm going to be a burden on everybody because I'm hoping they're going to figure out a way to fix it. Be like, come on, it's been 8.5 years. How long do we have to deal with? Sorry.
No.
You look over at Jennifer like, wouldn't you like to just be disconnected from this whole thing? Wouldn't you prefer that you had my situation? She's just sitting there long suffering, no, we can't pull the plug.
Oh, fucking Richie.
Well, so here's a couple of takes on that. This is actually a topic I don't think's ever come up on the show before. But I'll if you're going to be pure to the argument, and if you are the kind of person who believes that life begins at conception, then no rape or incest exception for you. Like, I think the person who says, "Oh, abortion is murder because life begins at conception," you cannot then go, "But if it's rape or incest, I'm okay with it."
No, that's why I understand
you're qualifying
that.
your
But that's
murder,
why I guess
right?
I get that.
Yeah.
Where you sit there and one person goes there and go, "Hey, that's awful." Mm-hmm. If a pro-choice person tells me, "Hey, that's an awful thought process," I guess me being devil's advocate go, "Hey, would you be okay with an 8-month-old baby that was created out of incest being aborted?" And I'm willing to, and I'm thinking, I'm just a thought bubble here. I'm willing to go out on a limb and say that most people would sit there and go, "Well, no, I wouldn't put an 8-month-old baby, I wouldn't terminate."
Yeah.
Because you're like, "Oh, that's a human being." I'm like, exactly. That's what the issue is with the pro-lifers is they feel that at conception that is a human. They see it as the same. You know what I mean? So how you're seeing it, I'm just trying to open up the door to see, hey, this is how they think about it.
And the problem is that the pro-life side takes this to such a far side of the spectrum the other way that to them, I mean, like that Alabama bill, for example, that is banning an abortion after just a number of weeks of pregnancy. And that's a lot of times where somebody doesn't even know they're pregnant.
Yeah, no, that's the loophole behind it is most women, there's a heartbeat when they first find out they're pregnant. I mean, most girls, I don't think I knew about any of Jennifer's pregnancies or we knew that she was pregnant before 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, usually you have to miss a period. You miss a period, you're typically already past the 2-week mark.
Yeah, that's a 4-week right there. Yeah. It's going to be 4 weeks before
you miss a period, then you're like sitting there going, "Well, I might be late."
Yeah.
And then you wait a week and you're sitting there going, "Fuck, I might not, and then you go down and you get the little, the testing kit at the local Walgreens.
Yeah. Well, here's a couple of my broad strokes on it. I think that, the argument of life begins at conception, no, it doesn't. The other side of the argument, abortion should be legal, right up until birth or whatever. I mean, those are kind of your two sides of the argument. But those are not going to change, those perspectives. So we could talk about what everybody can agree on. Can we all agree that unwanted pregnancies in and of themselves as a concept are a bad idea? I think we could agree on that. I think both the pro-choice people, but even the pro-life people, if you just asked a pro-life person, "Hey, would you like it if every kid you saw was an unwanted pregnancy?" I would assume they would say, "No, that's in theory, that's a bad idea." Okay, great. So now I say, well, let's talk about how to prevent that situation from happening in the first place. I'm talking about education. I'm talking about contraception. I'm not talking about only abstinence, because that's something that you'll hear the religious crowd bring up. That doesn't work. Sorry. People figure out how to have sex anyway. You don't have to explain it to them. There's a little trial and error, and they'll get it going in a bad way. But if, to me, both sides focused on that prevention. See, I think a big part of the problem is when you get into these late stages and you're like, well, wait a second, why didn't that person, make that decision at 2 months as opposed to 7 months or whatever it is? It's because the person is, first of all, in and of themselves, not always a very educated person. If we're talking about the kind of extreme situations we're talking about, you could also be talking about minors, children. Do they have access? Are they being shielded from medical care because of some sort of incestuous situation or something? So to me, I think the whole level of availability and education, not only on reproductive rights, but also the things that prevent it to begin with, like contraception, sex education, things like that.
Well, I do find what's funny
behind.
Is that it seems like it splits this way. In fact, I guess it's been going on longer than I've realized there was a problem, because I think I've seen a picture 40 years ago of I think it was maybe 30 years ago. I think it was H. Bush holding an umbrella over a pregnant woman's belly, even though she was outside still in the rain, and her other born child was being rained on, but they were protecting the pregnant child, the pregnancy.
Yeah.
And that's the part where, I personally, why I think that pro-choice is a good idea is when I first realized, I was reading a book called Freakonomics, and they're just talking about how things correlate. They're talking about the drop in crime in New York. And, at the time, Giuliani, I think, was the mayor in the late 90s, talking about, it's my what's the word I'm looking for? Policies in play.
He deserved the credit.
Yeah, he deserved the credit. Yeah. And they're like, actually, no. People that commit the most crime are people, it was like, ages like from 18 to 25, and they're, low economy is where you get the most violent criminals coming from. And they're like, basically, 18 years ago, Roe versus Wade occurred, and what you're seeing is that most of the women that were getting pregnant, abortions, are women who are in low income. Basically, they were producing the criminals. And because they now had the opportunity to divert this direction in life where they weren't ready to have a baby, and basically have an unwanted pregnancy where they treat the kid like shit, and the kid is unwanted, uneducated, and you're like, oh, he became a criminal. You're like, well, no shit, man. Like, fucking the minute he was born, no one gave a fuck anymore. And so they're saying, well, no, the abortion is what led to the low in crime, because a lot of these criminals were never born to begin with. And so I'm like, oh, so I guess to tail on your part of unwanted pregnancies, that's why I think, it's a decent idea that if it's early enough and it's not a human life, like, look, hey, to me, it's the same way as me using contraceptives. I have a vasectomy, right? So I've physically made it to where I cannot produce more children. I guess, but that's far enough up on the food chain of the development of the child that I feel like, okay, well, I'm not killing a human being. I'm just preventing these other human beings from existing that I financially cannot provide the same way I provide for my 3 children. Can I provide for a 4th, or if I had a 5th, or if I had a 6th? Look, man, if I was a multi-millionaire, then fuck, I'd have more kids. But I'm not. So I'm like, okay, I have only so much finite time and resources. I can do a good job with 3 of them. You know what I mean? Like,
yes. That's so important. And that leads me to another point, which is just, if you're going to be, if you're going to have a pro-life position, then I also think you have to really be able to demonstrate what you do for kids after birth. It can't just all be about let's get them into the world and then they're on their own.
You'll have a pro-lifer get upset about abortion, but then get pissed off about welfare or paying taxes for the school system. I'm like, hey, wait a minute. So as long as we don't kill the child, that's where you feel your concern is over with. Like, I'll
tell you the question
your empathy is a little strange to me.
And the first question I have in that situation is, okay, and let me meet your adopted kids. How many you have? 1, 2? How many adopted? Because that's another thing too. It's, I
have a lot of respect for people that can adopt children. Obviously I'm not in a financial situation where it would be viable for me to do so. But I guess I could make it work. The kid would probably have a better life than living in foster care, even if it was sharing a bedroom and now there's, an extra boy in one of the rooms or whatnot. But like, to love somebody else's kid that's not biologically yours, like, that impresses me. Like, when I see really good stepdads, because I wasn't a great stepdad. I'm really not. I was a shitty stepdad. Shitty in the sense that, you know what I mean? Like, Marcus was never hungry. He never went without. But like, you know how like I cuddle my kids, I'll spoon with them and hold them. I never am physically affectionate towards people that, you know, I can be that way with my 3 kids. Even with nieces.
Do you think
and
it's
nephews,
too late now? Do you think that'd weird him out now?
Yeah, that'd be a little weird now.
Okay.
If I just fucking spooned him, he's 26 years old. Might get rape charges called on me. Whole different fucking door opening up there on abuse. You know what I mean? Like, so when I see dads, especially dads, I think it's harder for most men than it is for women. I think women are much more accustomed, wired, maybe whether it's nurture, which is nature, you know, to be able to take someone else's child and love it. Whereas as a man, like to adopt and do that and love someone else's kid, like I said, I'm not, you know, like when my children, I'm very affectionate with. I'm not, you know what I mean? Just like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Like people have a newborn baby. I'm never that guy who goes, oh, let me hold the baby. I'm just like, that's cool. It's a fucking baby. It's not mine. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
see, if I ever had kids, I'd go green. I would recycle. Like, I think that's just I mean, I enjoy judging people now just from my Prius driving vegan perspective. Boy, if I had the adopted kids, you'd never shut me up. Have you ever heard that Bill Burr bit about, Bill Burr's got a great bit about how, you know, people always talk to you about having kids and they're like, you know, they've got a 6-year-old. And so, you know, if you have your kid just now and they're like, they have the 6-year-old, so they've got 5 years on you and they're like, oh, wait till you get to 5, wait till you get to 6. And his bit is that he'd like to just show up to a party with an 11-year-old he just adopted and leapfrog everybody in the experience so he can start telling them about what it's going to be like when their kid turns 11. I kind of like that idea though, that you can, you know, you have a little like a combine. You could try them out. You know
what's funny? You know, another thing that I don't know if you noticed is I just, as a father of young babies that have grown up, you know, to adolescence now, I seen my wife do it to her mom. And when she did it, I mean, shit, I was 23 years old. It didn't register to me then. And her mother said something and I heard it. I was like, yeah, that is kind of right, huh? And then when I got older and I seen us on the flip side of it, because now Jennifer has 2 grandchildren, right, by Marcus. And I see the mom. What happened was Jennifer was with Bella doing something. Her mom was there, and she's like, "No, mom, like this," you know. And Rebecca, Jennifer's mother, goes, "You know, I did raise you and your 3 sisters." You know what I mean? Like, I'm not unaware. Like, you do realize that this is kind of, you know, a contradiction of your thought process going on here. That I don't know how to take care of the baby when you were my baby. You know what I mean? Like, and so it's funny. I've seen now the mothers of our grandchildren do that to Jennifer. So grandma like, no, it has to, you have to do it this way. And I'm like, and I'll look at him. I'll be like, I'm like, hey, wait a minute. You know, my wife's 45 years old and she's raised 4 kids. And I think she knows how to swaddle a child at this point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, in fact, if she was really bad at this, you wouldn't have had access to Marcus and you wouldn't be changing a diaper right now.
Yeah, that would be, I even had this idea for a bit I thought would be funny, like if I adopted a kid from each corner of the globe and then I had them dress year-round in their native garb, like It's a Small World. And so, like, when I'd come over to your house, they'd just be falling behind. Like, I'd have my loincloth kid and my wooden shoes kid and all that. Yeah.
Have you ever thought about adopting?
Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm not opposed to the idea of having kids. It's not that I don't like them or something like that. I like other people's kids.
I mean, you're still in the age that you can have children, obviously. I'm not.
Yeah.
I know how you are very, you know, conscious of your environment.
For me, yeah. So for me, it's just really being able to afford them. You know, and I have said that, and I know people say, oh, you never really truly can afford kids and things like that, and I know that, but I just think there's a place you kind of need to be. I know this. I know you need to be in a place where it's like the minute you have the kid, okay, that kid matters above and beyond everything else, so any goals you wanted to accomplish, any things you wanted, you know, all that takes a back seat, and I know it would, and I know I would be okay with that, but I also want to... I think I want to make sure that I'm in a good enough place where if something did happen, let's say, you know, your kid has an accident or your kid's born challenged or something like that, that your life changes at that point and you're completely prepared for that and okay with that. And I just don't know that I've ever really
and I agree with your thought process, because that's why after we had Ronan, our 3rd child, you know, I was like, hey, like looking at what it costs for the kids at school and sports and to take them on a vacation and have them live in a nice home. I'm like, shit, you know what I mean? Like the amount of money, I'm like, we're middle class, and this is, I think 3 is where we're topped off at.
See, that's what you said earlier, and that makes so much sense. I mean, that's the responsibility. If you could instill that kind of responsibility in people, we'd be talking about 1/10 of 1% of all this unwanted pregnancy stuff that we're talking about to begin with. I think the problem is innate in that people don't inherently a lot of times understand cause and effect. They're just repeating the same behavior, mistake-prone behavior over and over and over again, and the kids come with that, and they don't realize what's happening, and there's no forethought. A lot of times those people, they're not putting forethought into anything. It's not even just the kid. It's my future. It's my job. It's where am I going to live? They're the kind of people that, never look at what the balloon payment's going to be. They just look at the fact that they can leave the store with this item today that they can't really afford if they just sign their name. And that's, I think, metaphorical to a lot of bad life decisions. And that's what, listen, it's abortion is a bad thing, a sad thing. I've never experienced it personally in my life, but I know friends that have. One time Jennifer said to me, not very long ago, actually, she looked at me one day and she goes, how have you never gotten anyone pregnant? She's like, that is amazing that you have just... Are
you bad at safe sex?
No, but I think she just meant that I've lived a life. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but but if you're always safe, I mean,
no, I told her.
When guys tell me that the condom broke, I'm all, dude.
Yeah. No, and that,
I'm like, in my life, I've only seen that happen one time.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? In my sexual experiences, and it was purely from being very young and not knowing how to properly use one.
Yeah.
I'm like, they don't fucking break, asshole. You just weren't using one. You don't want to fucking admit to it. Yeah. Because you don't want to be like, oh, I'm fucking stupid. I went raw dog and left it in on the bitch. She got pregnant. And I'm like, oh, no shit. You didn't know that would happen, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I just, I guess I always knew the consequences of what I was dealing with. But that's what I'm saying. People can learn. I mean, you can, if you start talking about it early enough, and I think one of the big fundamental problems becomes the same, side that advocates for, pro-life and banning abortion and stuff like that. They just want to rely on faith and abstinence. And you know what? If you just tell them in church that it's a bad thing to do, they won't do it. No, it doesn't work that way. It's not that hard to figure out, and people will figure it out. They just start rubbing on each other, and pretty soon, one thing leads to it. I mean, they figure it out. So it's like, I believe that people, bad doesn't come from too much information.
No.
It always comes from too little.
I agree with you.
100%. There's never a situation where somebody goes, boy, this horrible thing wouldn't have happened to me if I just wasn't as smart as I am.
And I noticed that myself, when I don't feel comfortable relaying all the information of a situation to somebody, that's usually because I know I'm not in the right. Do you mean I'm being deceitful? You know what I mean? Like, well, I don't want you to know the whole thing because I don't want to have to explain X, Y, or Z,
Yeah.
But anytime I feel 100% conviction about something, I know that I'm in the right. We could fucking study it all day long, open the book, let's fucking sit here and talk, dude. I have no issues. I'm not going to hide anything because I feel very comfortable in my position.
I'm thinking about, as we do this is a very informal setting over here at my place because, as I said at the beginning of the show, weren't able to have access to the studio this week. They got some stuff going on over there at Bent Pixels. But no, we can wrap, because I was thinking about how I'm going to edit this episode, because we taped a couple of interesting interviews at the beginning of it, and I think I'm just going to drop them in.
Yeah, to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, we'll just weave in and out. And
polar opposite interviews between Max and Charles.
People will just be left to draw their own conclusions. Hey, there's a cameo from Nala. Speaking of happy adoptions, there's our blue pit bull Nala right here. on the Phone Booth Fighting YouTube channel. Oh, there's a kiss for Frank. There's a big kiss for Frank. Oh, she's going to maul you, that vicious animal. Yeah. All right. Okay, so let's do this, Frank. Tell everybody how to follow us on social media and tell them about the Amazon banner. It's very important.
Well, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Phone Booth Fighting, and Snapchat and Twitter, just Phone Booth Fight. And if you click on our website, phoneboothfighting.com, there's an Amazon banner. By clicking that link, it transports you to the Amazon page where any of the shopping that you do, a very small percentage of the proceeds come back here to help us out at the show.
That's it. We should be back in studio next week, and very happy birthday to my co-host Frank Mir. It's coming up here in just a few days.
40.
Yep, the big 4-0. So, gosh, to be 40 again. I wish it could be 40 again. All right. For Frank Mir, I'm Richard Hunter. We'll see you right back here next time on Phone Booth Fighting.